What to do when you want to make a comic, but your drawing skills aren't quite there yet. I know exactly how this feels because I felt like I was in the same position before I got my huge art block. The point of this video is to help you not get into art block and not get you to stop drawing, but to actually use the skills that you have right now to create your comic. Welcome back to Pencils and Stories. My name is Henrike and I make and teach comics. If you want to make comics as well, subscribe to this YouTube channel for more videos. Tip number one that I have is to actually create a comic that doesn't ask too much of you. Everybody has this great epic comic in their heads. I know it's really easy to want to do that first. If you feel like you have to draw too much stuff that you're going to get completely overwhelmed, I would say to just make a small practice comic first and get your drawing skills up. I don't want to get too cliche and say like, well, do drawing courses because improving skills takes time. But you don't have to wait until your skills are at some imaginary level. That's very unclear anyway. There's always going to be scenes in your comic that you run into that will have stuff that's hard to draw, but you can make it a little bit easier for yourself and actually brainstorm a list of things that you are comfortable drawing and maybe make a comic around that. As an example of what not to do, I was starting a comic when I was in my late teens, had a lot of interiors and houses and buildings and all of that stuff. That's exactly the things I was least comfortable with. Whenever I would draw an environment, the characters usually would be like huge giants because I just didn't understand perspective. I didn't understand how big characters and then furniture that was further in the back actually needed to be in order to make the scene believable. So I just didn't know what I was doing and it showed. I actually also just started to avoid drawing backgrounds in panels where there actually was enough room for it to have a background and actually needed a background, or else the panel would feel very empty. If I had started my comic in nature, that would probably be lesser of an issue because I'm more comfortable drawing plants and trees and stuff. I actually feel like my drawing skill wasn't there in general a little bit for that comic, which brings me to my second point of actually using reference. I keep repeating it. Using reference is something that all the pros do. The great master painters did it, and everybody in any animation studio ever is using reference. I can guarantee you it's not cheating. It is a smart thing to do. In order to be able to know how to draw something, you have to know how to draw something. So you have to look at that thing. I would just say that very often that can really help you at least get some sort of structure behind your drawings, because that was something that was missing hugely in the comic that I was making before. I just had no sense of structure. I didn't really think in terms of like, this is a 3D object. Drawing from reference can really help you with that. My third and last tip is going to be a little bit more nebulous, maybe a little less practical, but I would really urge you to look at your current drawing skill, not as an evaluation of you as an artist, but just as a point in your journey. One point of many, and you will improve if you keep putting in the work, if you keep drawing and actually keep studying objects, studying things, not just copying, like drawing from what you see, but also as a way to improve. Because what you can actually do in every single drawing that you make is look back and look at what worked and what didn't work. That will also help you improve. Sometimes I have a week where my drawing just is not really coming together like I want it to. And I will just usually, especially when it's a sketchbook, that's easy to do, just go sit down and analyze it. Just look at all of the things that you can improve basically in art. Are the proportions right? Do I have enough visual interest on this? Is the silhouette clear? Is the pose clear? Do I have a line of action in my poses? Or is it like going in weird corners somewhere? And you can analyze that and use that to improve. So look at your current art with curiosity, I would say, rather than a value judgment. And definitely don't use it as a value judgment of you as an artist as of right now, because you're always in a point of growth. I firmly believe that improvement is always possible. I don't believe in you either can draw or you cannot draw. I really don't believe in that. You can always improve. You can always become better. And if you really feel insecure about your drawing skills, just call it a practice comic. Call it a comic that you will use to improve your drawing. And for every page, pick one panel, go very hard on the reference with that panel. Pick another panel on the second page where you really focus in on making the best pose or drawing a really great background. Actively use your comic right now to improve. In every drawing that's quote unquote bad, you can almost always find something about it that's good. So do more of the thing that's good as well. Don't just analyze your mistakes, but also analyze what went right and what you want to do more of. So those are my tips. Don't let your drawing skill hold you back. I believe everybody can make comics. I was making comics while my drawing skill really wasn't that great yet. They were still fun comics. Like, I made comics for my friends and they all loved it, and it didn't really matter what the drawing quality was. Might you gain a very large audience? Maybe. I know that a lot of people have that in their heads. It's like, it's not good enough, people will hate it. And it's like, have you ever looked at the order of the stick? It's not well known for its absolute perfect drawing quality. Of course, it's also a very deliberate style, but it's not like, I just want to say that anything is possible on the internet. And the more you hype up your own story and the more you hype up your own characters, sometimes it really doesn't matter. You will have bad days, you will have good days. It really doesn't matter. The point is, you're growing, you're improving, and you're not stopping. Don't do what I did. Don't stop drawing. That was my video for this week. I really hope it was helpful. And I also want to make you aware that I have a Skillshare class coming up. Yes, I've joined Skillshare and I made my first class. I will probably make a video about that next week, and it is about making an action plan for your comic. It goes into setting goals, like big creative goals for yourself, and setting goals for your comic, looking at what is the stuff that you're going to work towards, when are you going to work on this comic, how are you going to work on this comic, how do you plan your actions for your to-do list, and how do you work with distractions, procrastination, and all of that. And that's the fun stuff. And then how are you also going to make the comic as fun as possible? Now, we'll probably have one of those codes for you where you can actually try out Skillshare. I'm not sponsored or anything, but that's just something that every Skillshare teacher has. Yeah, and I would love for you to check out my new class. And there's also a link to a free checklist I have about making comics. So if you're interested in that, go to pencilsandstories.com/extra and get that free checklist and start making your little practice comic today. Don't let your drawing ability hold you back. That's it for this week. Now go and make some comics.